Hello, I'm Shane Johnston, Director of Schools in Jefferson County, and want to just reach out to our families and our students and stakeholders and our community members and provide some updates concerning some issues going on in our school. First, we know everyone has been very busy with the start of school, and we just want to take a moment and say thank you. There have been lots of efforts made to have children back in classrooms and in schools over the last year. We know it was a very difficult year last year, and while we had all hoped for a much more normal year this year, we are still facing the adversities and challenges that have been created by COVID-19 and all the efforts to keep everyone as safe as possible. On a bright note, I do want to let everyone know that we're up about 380 students from the last day of school in the spring semester and approximately 125 students above where we were the first month of school last year. So as COVID issues have been resolved, or at least fears have been calmed a little bit and the vaccine is out, we have seen some of our students come back, that many of which had chosen other options and families were doing other things last year, and it's so good to see that. As a matter of fact, we have added 2 teachers since the first day of school to be in compliance with the minimum rules and regulations, one at Talbot Elementary School and one at Rushstrong School, because their numbers exceeded the state allowable limits. So we are off to a fast start. We appreciate everyone's work and support in getting this school year off to a fabulous start. I do want to spend a great deal of our time today talking about the safety protocol adjustment that was made on Monday night's phone call. Jefferson County Schools has turned all contact tracing back over to the local health department. Now, while we were very happy to help assist in this last year, it took a great deal of time and energy and effort away from the academic purposes that we have as a school system. So our focus is simply this: we're going to let medical professionals handle the medical decisions and recommendations to parents. We respect your rights as parents to make what best decision is for your child when it comes to their medical needs, and we are going to focus on teaching and learning. So specifically as it pertains to contact tracing, last night's announcement simply said this: that when students are positive, of course those students are isolated and those students are sent home from school and not expected to come to school until the health department gives them a return to school date. If your child is symptomatic, just like with any other sickness, we do not want sick children or adults to be at school. You should keep symptomatic children at home. The big difference is no longer will the schools be identifying and tracking down all the different ones and quarantining those students in collaboration with the health department. We simply will be giving the health department names, and then the health department will follow up the investigation of that to determine who's a close contact. So the expectation for families, for employees, and for students is you continue to come to school until the Tennessee Health Department or the local health department identifies you as a close contact or you become symptomatic. Once you've been identified as a close contact by the health department, then you are expected to follow the guidance from the Tennessee Health Department. Or if you're symptomatic, you then have a couple of choices. One, you may get an alternate medical diagnosis from your doctor and return to school with an appropriate doctor's note, or you may also then decide to treat your child at home. Now, the normal excused and unexcused absences will be followed in this case because we do have to maintain that integrity of the attendance policy, and also we have to file reports with the state dealing with chronic absenteeism. Again, we respect your right as parents, and we understand that running to the doctor every time that your child has a runny nose sometimes suffers costs that are just not necessary. But at the same time, you do what's best for your child. We're going to all work together to get through this. There are no great answers. All we're doing is trying to have solutions to current problems as we continue to modify and adjust our guidelines, our protocols in response to the numbers. Currently in Jefferson County Schools, there are 40 positive cases. That's out of 71 plus students, about 7,114 as of yesterday morning students, and approximately 1,000 employees. We have 40 active cases as we record this. Also, we have about 123 that are in quarantine. We will continue to monitor numbers, and we will also make decisions based on those numbers. Now, I do want to help parents and families understand some differences in this year as compared to last year. One, we were working on a continuous learning plan last year that was implemented in response to COVID and in an effort to get schools open. Continuous learning plans are not currently activated by the Tennessee Department of Education, and they can only be reactivated in the event the governor issues a full state of emergency for the state again, and then we would be giving everyone appropriate notice. What implication does that have by not having the continuous learning plan? One, I, the director of schools, do not have the authority to close schools in response to this sickness. Number two, we do not have the authority to offer distance learning like we did last year. Of course, we did start a Jefferson County Virtual Academy that has a little over 100 students already enrolled in it. The high school section, based on our first year planning numbers, is already filled. We will relook at possible expanding that at the semester break. There are a handful of openings still in first grade through 8th grade. But I do not have the authority under current law to close schools as a whole in response to COVID. Now, just like before COVID existed, we can, in an outbreak of severe sickness, close an isolated campus or the district, but it must use a stockpile day. A stockpile day is one of the 10 built-in snow days, is what we would normally call those, that we have, that we teachers and students come 30 minutes extra each day, the 177 days, in order to build in enough time that we can stockpile those days. Now, this year could be very, very different than any other year, because if, as an example, at Mount Horeb, there was to be a need that we needed to close Mount Horeb School or any one of our schools, it could be that we use a stockpile day to close that school for a day or possibly 2. Obviously, with the quarantining period and the time period that you may become symptomatic, we cannot close a school for up to 10 days and use all those stockpile days. The closure of an independent school or 2 would be in response to because of staffing, no subs, enough teachers are out, and it would only be for a day or so to give us time to repurpose people and get people moved around to where we can still have school for those that are coming in person. Now, we'll worry about May later, but as the implication of that could be that when you get to May 25th, if we were to end up having some schools out of stockpile days and some schools still have some, that could get very confusing, and I'm sure the state will give us some guidance, and we would look to try to everyone still in school on the same day. Parents, let me just say this. I understand wholeheartedly, as a parent of 3 in our school system, 1 in high school, 1 in middle school, 1 in elementary school. I understand what a barrier that could be if we had to close an elementary school, but all the other schools still came, because you may be depending on that middle school child to help watch an elementary child at home. And while we want to make every decision we can as parent-friendly as we can, we also want you to be aware this is a possible scenario at some point in time throughout this school year. So please have those situations in place. Again, in some cases, it may be you just have to leave your middle school child at home to watch that. Again, we understand that, but as parents, we're asking you to go ahead and begin developing plans, because you have your children and you've been entrusted with them, and we want you to make the best choice for them. But again, we want to be as parent-friendly as we can, but we know that'll be a burden. But at the same time, it also keeps 600 other students, or in the district level, it could keep 6,500 students still coming to school over 500 students in just one campus having to take a day or 2 off. So we wanted to make you aware of that. Again, we want parents to parent, medical officials to make medical decisions and recommendations to you, and we want to focus on teaching and learning. So I do want to remind everyone, open house is going on at multiple campuses this week, and then there's one carrying over to next week. We have staggered some of those grade levels and by alphabet to allow to avoid crowds gathering at any one time. Again, we often get asked about athletic events. We follow guidance. All athletics in grades 6 through 12 is governed by the Tennessee Secondary School Athletic Association. We work with them. But again, the athletic events also are optional, and for parents and students especially. And we know that crowds tend to be at athletic events. We're going to continue to do all we can to gather information from CDC, local health department, Tennessee Health Department, and then we compile all those different recommendations, and we do our best to operate schools as safely and as practically as we can. Again, we know there's social distancing needs to occur. That's an extra challenge this year than last year, since 1,800 plus students started last year on distance learning, and now this year all of those students are back on normal roles and coming to school. So again, we're doing the best we can, as safely as we can, and as practically as we can to still maintain school. There are some inconveniences, and again, there's no good answers to any problem. We're just coming up with answers and solutions as problems arise. We're trying to look down the road and head off problems as we can, and we certainly appreciate your support and understanding in those things. We're still practicing and encouraging students good hygiene. We're still extra cleaning at night. We're still spraying down buses after the end of daily routes and all of those kind of things. So we're not just ignoring ignoring safety and health guidance, but we're following as many of those as we can and still being able to provide an academic experience for your children. It is also important to note that test scores came out. We're going to let our supervisor of testing or data and accountability be sharing information with parents shortly and going to explain some of those. We were above the state average in several categories. We still have a great deal of work to do. We've heard everyone talk about the learning loss for a couple of years now, and in some cases it's not something lost, it's something never obtained. Those early elementary kids in those early grades in that spring of 2020 when schools had to close never were exposed to some of the skills. We have a plan in place. We already started developing that plan and implementing that plan in February and March. We knew it was going to take time to catch kids up. Our scores did drop, but in many categories did not drop nearly as significantly as the state and other districts around the area. So we are excited about that. We know there's still work to do, but we've got a commitment to work over the next 2, 3, 4 years to get our students back where they need to be. And we think this has helped us emphasize and increase our zeal to help your children. So academically, we are committed to doing that. And this all ties together because we need them in class, and we need teachers to be able to in class so we can teach, students can learn, and everyone can work together to help our students. So lastly, I just want to say a thank you to our teachers, our assistants, our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers, all the school workers and employees that work together to make things so a valuable experience for your child. We are Jefferson County Schools, but no one would ever admit we're Jefferson County Perfect Schools. We're doing the best we can do in a very difficult situation, and we know you are as well as parents, and we appreciate the support. We look forward to a great 2021-2022 school year, and we are here to help throughout the year. Have a great day, and we'll continue to provide frequent updates as the necessary and perhaps even weekly. So check our social media sites and webpage frequently. Once again, thank you and have a great day.
Hello, my name is Tommy Arnold, Assistant Director of Schools for Jefferson County Schools. My role mainly focuses on federal programs and facilities and maintenance for the district. Just wanted to give you a little heads up of some things that are going on with federal programs. With ESSER money, federal money that flowed in, we've been able to do a few capital projects. With roofing, right now we are addressing some issues with roofs at Rush Strong School, Talbot Elementary School, and Jefferson Middle School, and plan to start Dandridge Elementary later in the fall. And then we will address New Market, White Pine, along with we have already completed Maury Middle School. So those were the red roof areas that were designated as major issues that were causing leaks within our schools. So those, hopefully in the next 12 to 18 months, will be taken care of through this federal money. We're also trying to do a renovation. We are in the planning stages of that renovation at Piedmont Elementary School with the use of those federal funds. On the maintenance side, we're looking at just completed at the start of school 4 new security entrances at Rush Strong, New Market, White Pine, and Dandridge Elementary Schools. So this adds a layer of security to where visitors are buzzed into the building, meet with the receptionist, and then they're buzzed into the school once they're granted access. Those entrances have the receptionist behind a piece of glass so that it limits access. So we look forward to those things in the maintenance. We've also completed in maintenance Phase 1 and Phase 2 capital projects. That's $500,000 that the board has given to do lighting upgrades, cleaning HVAC ductwork in our school buildings. Also, we've done some flooring in our schools. So that has been a great thing that schools are excited about. That's added some projects in the $5,000 to $20,000 range that we've been able to fund over the last 18 months or 2 years.
Hello, my name is Trevor Collins, and I'm the Data and Accountability Specialist Supervisor for Jefferson County Schools. We received back our scores from the state of Tennessee last week. At this time, the state is continuing to update us on state trends, regional trends, and also local trends. At this time, Jefferson County schools experienced a 3.2% drop in proficiency from 2019 to 2021 in English language arts for grades 3 through 8. This is a drop that is not as significant as that of the state. The state experienced a drop of 5.7% on their 3 through 8 scores across the state. We also noticed that we held strong in students who were in the approaching category for the grades 3 through 8 ELA. This means that while students may have experienced a drop in proficiency, we still see that the majority of students are still on grade level and performing close to proficiency. In grades math for the year, we see that students were able to make a significant difference between their scores and those of the state. While the state dropped a total of 11 points, Jefferson County only experienced a drop of 4.7%. This really helps us now understand where we are in terms of relativeness to the state as we work hard this year to recover that 4.7% and actually be above state averages next year. In social studies, we have a really bright spot for the year. Again, like I said, this assessment has changed significantly over the past couple of years, but we currently find ourselves actually scoring above the state in grades 3 through 8 social studies across the district. There's a huge win and celebration for us there. In math, ELA, again, we experienced a small drop. In social studies, we outscored the state. And in science, we are basically at even with the state in 3 through 8 science. So those are huge wins for Jefferson County schools. In addition to those scores, we also have high school EOC scores back as well. We have seen, based on state guidance, they have actually told us to use high school scores to create the local narrative. Basically what they're telling us is high school scores have experienced a significant drop across the board in almost all subject areas. So when we look at our scores now compared to 2018, 2019, what we see is a drop that is somewhat significant. But now what we have, though, where in the past we have outperformed the state, in a year of COVID, we are now basically at even with state performance in ELA and math. So again, the drop was significant for us, but we are scoring at that level that the state is actually for their average as well. So again, in years past, higher scores. Currently, we're at the state average. One bright point for us, though, is that in biology at the high school level, we outscored the state by roughly 4.5 percentage points. And that is significant in a year, again, where students have missed instruction and currently have gaps available. Finally, some areas of celebration. Throughout the district, we saw 8th grade math, like I said, at the 8th grade level in junior high. The scores for this year reversed the trend that we saw across 3 through 8 math. 8th grade math teachers were able to do a job last year, and they were able to actually raise students to higher scores in 2021 than they actually scored in 18-19. This is a significant improvement, and it really is against the trend that we saw across the state as a whole. So congratulations to those 8th grade math teachers. We also saw significant improvement across the district in 6th grade math. We are now currently scoring above the state average by several points, and we can see a large number of students who are ready to cross the threshold into proficiency if we continue to pay attention to their needs in 7th grade. We outscored the state in areas of 5th grade science, 8th grade science, 6th grade social studies, 7th grade social studies, and at the high school level, as we said earlier, in biology, but also in Algebra 2. And when we think about the importance of what Algebra 2 tells us, it's the last course that we offer at the high school level that kind of determines where students fall in terms of proficiency for the math continuum. So we were able to continue and hold out against that state average, scoring, I think it was roughly about 9 points in total compared to where the state scored for the current year. So we've already had several calls of people wanting to know what happened in Algebra 2 that didn't happen in other areas across the state, and we credit that to our strong teachers and their strong focus on standards and standards-based instruction. As we think about where we are in relation to the 2021-22 school year, teachers are currently working in groups twice a month to look at student deficits, student needs, and curriculum in order to plan for the gaps that now exist with our students as they move toward grade level standards. That work will really help us move this year to recover some of the learning that was lost during the time of COVID, and also to accelerate those students who are already high performers and need to be pushed higher. Thank you so much for your time.